Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we have got another Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 race description, and today's race is the Githyanki from the Expanded Psionics Handbook. Now, the Githyanki, it's an interesting race. So these guys are native to the astral plane, which is a bit unusual since that's the plane that's in between all the other planes. Which is used to transport teleport to other planes. So it's a very strange place, the astral plane, and yeah, they're an interesting one. So these guys, they were originally enslaved by mind flayers, so they despise mind flayers for that. So they really hate mind flayers. They also really hate their former brethren, the Githzuri. They really don't like them, although they hate mind flayers more, and would team up with the Githzuri to take out a mind flayer. That's probably the only reason. They also really don't like people from the material plane. They see inhabitants of the material plane as inferior, like bumpkins. And that's a best. Like, that's the ones that are like the people on the material plane. Most of them are more like, oh yeah, the slaves that we're going to go encounter. Like, they see themselves as so much better that they see creatures of the material planes as nothing more than slaves that have yet to be conquered. Like, the slaves that have yet to be captured. That's all they see. Creatures, and that includes, humans, dwarves, elves, all that stuff, like all your basic stuff. These guys are nasty. They do not. They are not good people. They're fairly tall, a fair amount. Probably a good half foot to a foot taller than humans. Like I say, they don't get along with anybody. They're usually evil and also usually chaotic. They live on the astral planes. They don't believe in religion. In fact, they're actually not allowed to practice religion. So there's a Lich Queen that they all have to pay respects to, and like she'll straight up kill you if she finds out you're worshiping a god. So that's a thing. And she's not a god herself. She just doesn't want anybody to worship anybody but her. So nasty. Yeah. So let's get into the nitty gritty. The actual mechanics of these guys. So their stats. +2 dex, +2 con, -2 wisdom. So good stats overall. Not a good wisdom, but dex and con, definitely good stats to have. So yeah, especially seeing as these guys are one you definitely want to be a physical type race. So something melee. Medium size, nothing's crazy there. Baseline speed 30. Dark vision out to 60 feet. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, naturally psionic, so they get 3 power points, which is a fair amount for naturally psionic. Here's one of the things, probably the best thing about this race. Psi-like abilities. So basically, as they level up, they gain psi-like abilities. At first level, so right away, they're all going to have Farhand and Psionic Days. So some okay stuff that they can do 3 times per day. Once they reach 3rd level, they can also do Concealing Morpha. All right. 6th level, they get Psionic Dimension Door. That one's actually pretty useful. And at 9th level, they'll get Telekinetic Thrust. These are all 3 times per day, but they also get Psionic Plane Shift once per day. So that's some actually pretty useful stuff. Like, Plane Shift is pretty good. So that's, and same with stuff like Dimension Door. Like, these guys, quite useful. Those powers can be pretty good. I'd say getting those is one of the main reasons why you would want to take this race, although still questionable whether it's worth it. They get power resistance, which often would just be spell resistance, and it's decent. So it's 5+ levels, so that's not bad. Someone of equal level that have about a 75%, have about a 25% chance that their powers wouldn't work, or if you do the whole spell resistance and power resistance are the same, which is one of the ways you can play. then yeah, that would be so that would be decent spell resistance or power resistance. Languages common in Gith, which Gith is a unique language to these guys, and also the Githzeri, I believe, also have that. For bonus languages, they have Abyssal, Celestial, Draconic, Infernal, and Undercommon. So some fairly unusual choices for the most part. Favorite class fighter, not a bad option for these guys. And level adjustment +2. That's where it starts to get bad. Other than that, it was pretty solid, but that level adjustment is a lot. And what do they get for it? So they're going to get some slightly better than average stats with the total of +2. That's something that itself warrants at least a. If you're going to have at least a +1 level adjustment if you have some that, although you wouldn't consider it good unless it includes more than that. But this is a +2. The psi-like abilities are really, really where it's at. That and the power resistance. The power resistance not bad. Having decent spell, especially if you do the power resistance and spell resistance are the same thing. If you play that role, which is a fairly common way to play. Yeah, I'd say probably more than half of DMs would probably use that role, but it's hard to say. It's really subjective. But anyways, +5, a 5+ level, it's okay. In order for it to have good spell resistance or power resistance, you're going to want 10 plus your class plus character level. This one's only 5, which is still not bad. It's still better than most the things you can buy from like books. Like if you want to enchant your armor for spell resistance, this is going to be better than that for the most part. Especially once you get to high levels. I mean, I guess if you dump a bunch of money into it early on, that would be better, but like it gets overpowered fast. And it's hard to do when you end up with like no resources for other stuff. But anyways, that one, so that's a decent reason to get it. The fact that you have that power and then the psi-like abilities. Some of these are pretty good. Plane shifts, pretty nice to be able to get around. Mostly, since you only get it once per day, it'd be a good way to escape. Also be a good way for a single surprise attack. But that's about it. Dimension doors, pretty useful, getting that 3 times a day. Some of these other ones are all right. I haven't looked into them a ton, but yeah. I'd say hard to say whether it's worth it. If you get the buy off, then it's not so bad. But if you're not doing a buy off, it's hard to say whether that 2 level adjustments is worth it. I mean, if you're going for it, great. This would probably be more likely to come up as an NPC anyways, in which case the level adjustment doesn't really matter much. NPCs go by completely different rules. They go by the CR rules, which is different than ECL, so it's a whole different game there, which was intended. It basically comes down to CR tends to be more about just the fighting aspects, whereas the ECL tends to get you tends to take into account more than just your combat abilities. So yeah. Yeah, so overall I'd say the Githyanki, it's an okay race. Tricky one to play as, especially with the whole being evil a-holes thing. Like that'd be you'd have to be an unusual one or be playing in an evil campaign to really make that work well. Or at least somewhat unusual and just kind of, be less of an evil a-hole, like a neutral a-hole who's just like super pompous. I guess you could make that work in some campaigns, but it's a tricky one. Anyways, that's really all I have to say about these guys. If there's anything you guys want to add, feel free to leave something down in the comments below. Love hearing from you guys. Also, if you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. That always helps. And if you haven't already done so, I don't know why you haven't, but maybe subscribe to the channel and ring that bell to get notifications, because YouTube's not so good about doing that. And yeah, maybe share the video if you know anyone who may enjoy it. But anyways, as always, I'm Mitch, and I'll be seeing you